At this very moment, someone weaker than you is achieving success. Why? Because they appear more confident, they speak without hesitation, they act as if they deserve everything, and the world believes them. Meanwhile, you doubt yourself. You think too much. You wait for the right moment, the right words, the right mood. And while you wait, someone else takes what could have belonged to you. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is a weapon. And if you do not use it, someone else will turn it against you. Machiavelli knew this many centuries ago. The bold move forward, even if they lack skills. The hesitant remain behind, no matter how talented they may be, because power belongs not to the best, but to the most confident. This video is a turning point, not for motivation, not for consolation, but for control. You will learn how to rid yourself of doubts, speak like a ruler, and move like a person who must be listened to. Pay close attention, because from this moment on, your weakness will no longer be tolerated. It will be replaced. You were not born weak. You were made that way. Through repetition, rewards, rules, and being taught to obey, to seek approval, to ask if everything is all right. What lives within you now is not a person. It is a servant, trained to please, programmed to obey. A loyal dog that trembles at judgment and waits for permission. That voice in your head that doubts, thinks too much, apologizes before speaking. That is not you. It is the inner servant. And if you do not destroy it, you will never be free. Machiavelli did not whisper. He commanded. He did not wait to be understood. He acted and let others catch up. He did not ask for power. He seized it because he knew that those who ask are unworthy. Your transformation begins with inversion. Every time you want to shrink, expand. Every time you want to explain, stop. Every time you want to apologize, look straight ahead. Because dangerous confidence does not come from a sense of readiness. It comes from actions that the inner servant would never dare to take. You move faster. You take up more space. You stop nodding. You stop softening your tone. You speak as if your words are a decision, not a suggestion. Confidence is not a mindset. It is an identity, and this identity is forged in opposition, not against the world, but against your version that still wants to serve. And here's your first rule. If it makes you small, destroy it. Thought, habit, person, destroy it. If it makes you hesitate, resist it. If it makes you weak, reject it. If it seeks to please, laugh at it. The world will tell you to be kind, polite, and nice. But here is the Machiavellian truth. Nice people are tools. They are used, discarded, replaced. Powerful people are not nice. They are precise, measured, controlled, calculating. And it all begins with destroying that little voice inside you that still begs to be accepted. You do not need permission. You do not need approval. You only need one thing: the readiness to become fearsome, not for others, but for your former self. Because as soon as you destroy the facade, the ruler will awaken. Strong people do not announce themselves loudly. They come with presence, not through words, but through silence, not through movement, but through their gaze. You do not need to be known. You do not need to be loved. It is enough for the atmosphere to change the moment you enter. This is how a person who owns the room acts, not because they were told to, but because they always behave this way. Machiavelli understood this at the courts. Power did not always belong to kings. Sometimes it was a person in the corner who hardly spoke, but when they did speak, the entire court held its breath. Silence is control. Do you think that conversation makes you dominant? It does not. It makes you predictable. The quiet person is a threat, because no one knows what they are thinking. When you enter a room, you do not seek permission. You do not look around for approval. You observe. You absorb. You allow others to rush to reveal themselves while you calculate. Your posture speaks before your words. You move slowly, not because you are unsure, but because you are in no hurry. Predators do not run unless it is time to attack. Until then, they wait, calm and ready. Most people do not even realize how quickly they move, how quickly they speak, how often they interrupt. Because they are trying to impress. Because they are still subject to judgment. But when you enter as if you own the room, you do not speak to impress. You speak to decide. Every sentence carries finality. Every word sounds like a conclusion. People begin to listen differently. They do not challenge you. They adjust to you. And when others speak, you wait. You allow them to start. You let them reveal their desires, their insecurities, their weaknesses. Because the one who speaks first usually reveals their fears. And once you know this, you can bend them to your will. You do not chase energy. You create gravity. Because confidence at this level is not about being loved. It is about making others doubt their position simply by being near you. Therefore, you behave as if you have already won, not arrogantly, but like someone who is not competing because they have already chosen themselves. If you are respected, that is good. If not, even better. Because indifference to approval is the highest form of power. And if the room did not belong to you when you entered, by the time you leave, they will remember it as yours. Not because you demanded it, but because you did not need it. Fame is not just noise. It is a weapon. And most men speak as if they are asking for permission to exist. They can be noticed instantly. The rising tone at the end of each sentence is nervous laughter. Endless phrases like, I think, maybe, I am not sure. They speak as if they are apologizing for taking up space. This is not speech. It is self-sabotage. Machiavelli knew the truth. Power is not always in what you say, but in how you say it. And when you speak as if you cannot be denied, people do not analyze your words. They submit to the weight of your confidence. So here is the essence. People do not act logically. They are guided by emotions. They do not follow the truth. They follow conviction. If you sound confident, they assume you are right. If you hesitate, they believe you are not worth listening to. What is Machiavelli's voice like? It is slow, calm, and definitive. You speak as if your words are not open for discussion. Each sentence is like a command. You speak like someone who expects to be obeyed already. And it does not matter if you are in a room full of experts. If you sound like the solution, they will yield. This is the first rule. Sound like a conclusion, not a beginning. And here is what most will never tell you. You do not need to speak often to be respected. In fact, the more you speak, the more chances you give others to decipher you, challenge you, or worse, stop fearing you. Speak less, mean more. When you speak, eliminate softness. No filler, no explanations, no apologies. Never say, "I am just saying," or "I could be wrong." I do not know if this makes sense, but all of this is a loophole for the weak. Burn them. Say what you mean and leave it at that. Let others grapple with the ensuing silence. Because silence after a strong statement is power. It provokes people to challenge you, but most will not do it. Why? Because they are too afraid of what else you might say. Now understand this. Your tone is your true message. Fame is merely surface, but your tone, your calm, confident, thoughtful tone, tells people where you stand in the hierarchy. Want to rise higher? Slow down, eliminate nervous energy. Sound like a person who has nothing to prove and who is in control. Like someone who has already made up their mind and is waiting for the world to catch up. You do not win conversations by getting louder. You win them by speaking in a way that makes your words feel like facts, not suggestions. This is how rulers speak. This is how generals speak. This is how queens of exiles speak before reclaiming their thrones. And if someone challenges you, never defend yourself. Redirect. Do not argue. Do not explain. Do not justify. Just say, "I disagree." Or better yet, "That is incorrect." Move on, because when you refuse to engage in an argument, you signal something terrifying, that your reality is not up for discussion. This is how you control the room without raising your voice, because confidence is not loudness, it is weight. It is the invisible heft behind your words. The assumption that when you speak, others must listen. When you speak, the room must feel it. Not through noise, not through arrogance, but through unwavering confidence. You are not trying to be right. You speak as someone who cannot be wrong. You do not try to be heard. You speak as someone who does not care whether others agree with you, because in the end, they will agree. That is power. And from this moment on, that is how you speak. Or you remain silent. Confidence without control is mere decoration. You can walk with your head held high, speak well, move with authority. But if someone can throw you off balance with a single sentence, it shows weakness. You are vulnerable. That is the fundamental mistake of most men. They master the art of presence. They hone the craft of speech, but their emotions still belong to others. A barely noticeable hint of disrespect, and they react with a compliment, and they soften. In silence, they become lost. You are not free until you master the invisible battle within your own mind. And it begins with reprogramming your personality. Machiavelli understood this in his preliminary intrigues. He was not afraid of enemies. He feared emotional dependence or any other kind. He did not trust attachment. He trusted control. For once people know what drives you, they know where to push. And once they know where to push, you cease to be dangerous. You become manageable. And manageable men are discarded as soon as they lose their usefulness. That is what transformation is about. You stop being a person who reacts and become someone who calculates. If someone insults you, do not explain yourself. Observe. Gather data on what they want from you. What lies behind their insult? If someone praises you, Do not melt, analyze why they are praising you right now, what they want. If someone ignores you, do not whine. Become even colder. Silence becomes your weapon, not your wound. That is what it means to become psychologically unreachable. Not unfeeling, but unshakable. You feel everything, but you act only when it serves your purpose. When you are tested, you do not flare up. You do not show visible discomfort. Why? Because your mind, not a public space, is a fortress, and you decide who gets in. This is the way to avoid manipulation. Most men are so easily controlled that it is laughable. Tell them they are not good enough, and they will start to justify themselves. Tell them they are wonderful, and they will start to chase after you. Detach from them emotionally, and they will beg for reconnection. This is not strength, it is programming. And until you hack this code, you will be a tool in someone else's hands. To reprogram yourself, kill the need to be understood. That is the root of the virus. The desire to explain yourself, to be seen, to be recognized. This makes you manageable. Burn it away. You do not exist to be understood. You exist to move the world around you strategically, surgically, silently. Kill the fear of rejection. Because the Machiavellian mind does not seek acceptance. It controls access. You do not need to be invited. Let people wonder what will happen if they can no longer be near you, and kill the habit of emotional reaction. Emotions are real, but they do not matter until they become a weapon. Get angry. Use it as fuel. You are insulted. Use it as leverage. Doubts are cast upon you. Use it as silence, and let the results speak later. This is how powerful men are created. They do not become robots. They become unstoppable. Because once no one can influence you emotionally, they can only watch your precise actions and fear what you will do next. Let others chase after peace and understanding. You strive for clarity and control. Because the world is indifferent to your feelings. It only responds to what you project. Confidence in direction, attraction. When your personality becomes unshakable, you become dangerous. Not because you are aggressive or loud, but because you are unattainable. People around you will try to influence you. They will test, praise, ignore, and consume. But nothing will work. You remain the same, cold, calm, and calculating. Over time, they will stop trying to manipulate you, realizing something frightening. You are the only person they cannot move. This is the final transformation. Not posture, not speech, not appearance, but identity. You are no longer swayed by others. You shape the space around you. You set the rules. You determine the outcome. You do not need to be understood or accepted. You need nothing from others. Because now you belong only to yourself, and this is what makes you untouchable. Rejection is early for the weak. For the strong, it is a signal, a gift, a message from the world, telling you that you have been too available, too obvious, too desperate, excellent. Now you know what needs to be destroyed. For this reason, rejection is not personal. It is positional. People reject what they believe they can do without. If they told you no, it means they are sure they have lost nothing. This is not an insult. It is information. Now you know where they stand and where you stand. This means you can prepare for a counterattack when they are weak and you are untouchable. The first rule is to never show that you care. The moment you show pain, they have won. It is not even about them, but about your legend. A Machiavellian mind does not sulk when the door closes. It makes the room colder. You were not rejected. They were simply denied access to you. Rejection is real only when you acknowledge it. Therefore, do not react. Instead, evolve. The second rule is to withdraw your presence as a weapon. What happens when what you took for granted disappears? You begin to feel its weight, its value. This is what you do when you are rejected. Seek absence without explanations, without emotional goodbyes. Just strategic absence. And while they feel the void, you build. Machiavelli said that people should either be generously rewarded or destroyed. Because they take revenge for minor wounds, but not for serious ones. Therefore, do not cause them pain. Make them insignificant. Let your silence be louder than your words. Let them wonder where you have gone, how far you have gone, and whether they ever had access to you. The third has lived. Rewrite history. Rejection only has power if it seems that you were somehow caught up in it. Rewrite the story, but for yourself, not for them. You were not rejected. You chose to exit a game that was too small for you. You allowed them to say no because you observed their behavior. You gave them a chance to prove that they could recognize strength. They failed. And in that failure, they told you everything you needed to know. Now you disappear and renew yourself. Step 4. Turn rejection into control. This is where you win. Rejection is clarity. Most people live in ignorance, not understanding who respects them, who uses them, who fears them. But rejection cuts through that fog like a blade. Now you know who is blind. Now you know where your strength does not yet operate. So what do? You sharpen your edge. You enhance your image. You amplify your value so loudly that those who once ignored you are forced to justify themselves by mentioning your name. And the next time they return, and they will definitely return, you do not even need to reject them. You have already transcended their reach. This is control, quiet, constant, elegant. Step 5. Turn your return into a weapon. The goal should never be revenge. Revenge is emotional. Machiavellian power is always calculated, so you do not try to get back at anyone. You let time do that for you. You reappear only when your presence causes discomfort, when your success is so evident that it cannot be ignored. When the person who rejected you watches you dominate in a space where they thought you did not belong, you say nothing. You show no bitterness, sarcasm, or pride. You simply cast a glance. Or better yet, you do not look at all. Because now you do not seek to be accepted. You set the standard, the final word. Rejection is not defeat. It is a trial, a filter, a fire that shows what needs to be cooled, what needs to be cut off, and who needs to be left behind. So remember this: you were not rejected. You were directed towards a version of yourself that does not ask twice, does not flinch, and does not wait to be chosen. Now go and build in silence, and return with a strength that they cannot reject, even if they want to. You were not inspired, not motivated, but restructured. From the inside out, you destroyed self-doubt, not through affirmations, but through actions. You did not wait to feel ready. You moved, acted, and realized that strength does not belong to the perfect. It belongs to the brave. You embraced rejection and turned it into fuel. No more chasing approval. Now you allow people to feel the cost of loss. You have become rare, strategic, and silent, and they have noticed that you no longer enter rooms to be accepted. Now you own them. Your presence, posture, and precision command attention. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak as if no one can afford to disagree. And most importantly, you have rewritten your identity. You are no longer predictable. You no longer succumb to influence. You have become unattainable, emotionally untouchable. They cannot provoke you. They cannot manipulate you. They cannot shake you, because you belong to no one. And that makes you unforgettable. It creates a legend, not noise, not fame, but powerful silence, cold clarity, relentless consistency. You do not need to announce your transformation. They will feel it in your stride, in your tone, in your absence. You have become a person who is watched in silence. The one who once pursued is now the object of the hunt. The one who once asked questions now makes decisions. The one who no longer needs approval because he has become the standard. So no, this is not just self-confidence. This is dominance, mental, emotional, psychological. You are not here to fit in. You are here to move the pieces, change the environment, imprint yourself in their memory, even in silence. Because legends do not ask, they do not explain, they exist, and the world changes around them. The final command: if you are tired of pursuing, you know what to do. If you are ready to become the person who cannot be controlled, who cannot be predicted, and who will never be forgotten, then the path is open before you. Because this is not self-help, this is war. And you have just become a weapon.